And we're alive. Alive.
Kinda.
We're here.
I'm half asleep.
We just went and ate.
Yeah.
So,
I'm tired now.
yeah.
It's 10 o'clock and we still have 3 episodes.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are at? You ever see that commercial?
No.
Never mind. Old people will understand, I guess.
Anyway,
this week we're continuing our spooky season and giving you a little bit of the history of werewolves, vampires, and some ghouls.
Go on the name of the episode. Because I giggled.
Werewolves, vampires, and ghouls. Oh my! I'm sure that's not the last time that I will use that, but here we are. I guess I'll just jump right into it. And we'll go with werewolves first. According to History.com, it is unclear as to the first origins of the legend of the werewolf. However, some scholars believe that the first appearance of a werewolf in fictional stories was in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the oldest known piece of Western prose. The gist of the story is that when Gilgamesh jilted a potential lover because she had turned her previous mate into a wolf. Another early appearance of werewolves was in Greek mythology with the legend of Lycaon. According to this legend, Lycaon, I don't know how to say that. I should have looked it up. I didn't. The son of Pelasgus.
That's what I was going to say.
I had to slow down and read it. Angered the god Zeus when he served him a meal made from the remains of a sacrificed boy, and as punishment, the enraged Zeus turned I wish I could say that.
Just say lichen.
That's probably it, honestly. Lycan and his sons into wolves. Werewolves were also depicted in early Nordic folklore, as well with the saga of the Volsungs, telling the story of a father and son who discovered wolf pelts that had the power to turn people into wolves for 10 days. The father-son duo would don the pelts, transform into wolves, and go on killing rampages in the forest. Their rampage was only ended when the father attacked his son and caused a lethal wound. The only reason the son survived was because a raven gave the father a leaf with healing powers. Centuries ago, werewolves were blamed for a lot of murders that were in fact the work of serial killers, with France having a large number of these instances. In 1521, 2 Frenchmen named Pierre Bergot and Michael Verdun allegedly swore their allegiance to the devil himself and claimed to have an ointment that would turn them into wolves. After the pair confessed to brutally murdering several children, they were subsequently burnt at the stake, as this was thought to be one of the few ways to kill a werewolf. Another Frenchman named Gilles Garnier, would become known as the Wolf of Dole in the 16th century. Also claimed to be able to morph into a wolf with the aid of an ointment. According to legend, as a wolf, he would kill and eat children, but he too was eventually burned at the stake for his heinous crimes. Possibly the most notorious werewolf was a wealthy 16th century farmer in Bedburg, Germany by the name of Peter Stubb. According to folklore, he would turn into a wolf-like creature during the night and would devour the citizens of Bedburg. He was eventually blamed for gruesome murders after he was cornered by some hunters who claimed they had seen him shapeshift from wolf to human form. After being tortured into confession, Peter confessed to savagely killing animals, men, women, and children, and then eating their remains. He also declared that he possessed an enchanted belt that would give him the power to transform at will, but this belt was never located. On October 28, 1589, Stubb was found guilty, and for his execution, his body was strapped, spread-eagled, on a large wheel, and with red-hot pincers, his executioners ripped his flesh away in 10 spots. Both his legs and arms were broken with a large axe, and for good measure, he was beheaded. And on October 31st, his body, along with that of his daughter and his mistress, who were both convicted of abetting in his crimes, were all burned at the stake. They wanted to make sure this man was dead.
For sure.
At the direction of the magistrate, as a warning to other potential devil worshippers, the wheel that Stubb was tortured on was hung atop a pole, and from it hung 16 yard-long strips of wood, each one representing his 16 known victims. And atop that was the framed likeness of a wolf. And at the tip top of the pole, the point was sharpened, and what was placed on this point? If you guessed Peter Stubb's severed head, you would be correct.
Oh my gosh.
Even at the time, Peter's guilt was controversial because some believed that he wasn't a killer at all, but was the victim of a political witch hunt. But either way, his life and death stoked the flames of fear at the time that there were werewolves on the loose, and they could and would kill you. There are some legends that say that werewolves are shapeshifters that can shift at will due to a curse of some sort. And others say that they transformed with the help of an enchanted cloak made of wolf pelt, and others claim that people become wolves after they were scratched or bitten, which is the most commonplace idea in the mainstream. In many werewolf stories, the person only turns at the full moon, and according to a study conducted at Australia's Calvary Mater Newcastle Hospital, a full moon brings out the beast in many humans. The study found that 91 violent acute incidents at the hospital between August 2008 and July 2009, 23% occurred during a full moon. Patients would attack staff and display wolf-like behaviors such as biting, spitting, and scratching. And some were under the influence of drugs at the time, but it has never been proven why violence intensifies so much during a full moon.
Can we just talk about how that's a very low percentage to really blame the full moon?
Right. But that's also like a very small study pool.
This is true. But I mean, I'm not disputing the fact that crazy shit happens on a full moon.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm going to skip all of this part because this was me. I went over this in the last episode about the full moon where I was talking about all the crackheads and people fighting. And so anyway, werewolves. There was another story that I found interesting about Peter the Wild Boy. In the summer of 1725, a nude and mute teenage boy was found living by himself in the woods of northern Germany. The kid was brought before British King George I, who immediately took a liking to him and had him shipped to his court. The boy would become known as Peter, and he was soon the toast of London and was regularly used to entertain royal guests at parties. Nobles were fascinated by Peter's habit of scurrying around on all fours and thought his lack of table manners, pickpocketing, and trying to kiss the ladies of the court were seen as humorous. All attempts to civilize Peter failed, and eventually he was sent out to the countryside where he would never learn to speak and preferred to sleep on the floor. By the time of his death in 1785, he had inspired speculation and comment from people like famed journalists Daniel Defoe and Jonathan Swift, but no one was ever able to learn the story of how he came to be living in the woods. It has been speculated amongst researchers that he may have been abandoned there as a small child because he suffered from Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, which is a rare neurological disorder that is characterized by learning disabilities and the inability to develop speech. This condition wasn't discovered until 1978, and it causes a lack of speech, seizures, distinct facial features, difficulty with breathing, and various intellectual challenges. Throughout the centuries, many people have used werewolves to explain the unexplainable. However, in modern times, Most werewolves are nothing more than pop culture horror icons, which was launched into popular culture by 1941's The Wolfman. And next I've got some famous fictional, or these are, yeah, they're fictional. Famous fictional werewolves, or from like mythology or what have you. Fenrir originates from Norse mythology and is one of the most fearsome creatures. He is the offspring of the trickster god Loki and the giantess Angrboda. This makes him the brother of Hel and the Midgard serpent, which that is pronounced Hormungandr. Fenrir plays a significant role in Norse mythology, as he is prophesied to play a crucial role in Ragnarok, and according to these myths, Fenrir will break free from his chains and consume Odin, the chief of the gods. This event is a catastrophic and pivotal part of the apocalyptic battle that will lead to the death of many gods and the rebirth of the world. The gods were aware of these prophecies that foretold of Fenrir's role in their downfall, and they attempted to bind him with various fetters. After he broke 2 sets of chains, they commissioned the dwarves to create Gleipnir. This was a magical ribbon made from 6 impossible things: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird, and though it appears to be thin and delicate, it is incredibly strong. In order to trick Fenrir into being bound by Gleipnir, the gods asked him to test his strength against it, and assuring him that it was just a game. Fenrir was wary of the intentions behind this game and agreed to it only if one of the gods would place their hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith. And Tyr, the god of war, offered his hand, which Fenrir bit off when he realized the deceit and that he could not break free. Did you want to read the next one?
I mean, I can if you want me to.
Go for it.
The next one is Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus are from Roman mythology, and they were an integral part of the foundation myth of Rome itself. According to legend, Romulus and Remus were twin brothers who were abandoned at birth and left to die by the Tiber River. They were miraculously saved by a she-wolf in a cave known as Lupercal until the boys were discovered by a shepherd named Faustulus and taken to be raised by himself and his wife, Acca the she-wolf is a powerful emblem in Roman mythology and represents the fierce protection and nurturing that she provided to the twins. Though Romulus and Remus are not werewolves themselves, their association and upbringing with the she-wolf emphasizes the significance of wolves in Roman culture, mirroring the protective and warrior-like traits revered by the Romans.
In Egyptian mythology, there is the Anubis, and it is depicted with the head of a jackal or wolf. Anubis is the protector of the dead and god of mummification. In the traditional sense, Anubis is not a wolf, but many still classify him as one of the most famous werewolves in mythology. Anubis is responsible for guiding souls to the afterlife and overseeing the weighing of the heart ceremony, in which the deceased's heart is measured against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and justice. This process determines whether one's soul is worthy of the afterlife or not. Anubis can be traced back to the earliest dynasties of Egypt, where he was originally associated with the afterlife before being overshadowed by Osiris. Despite this, Anubis has maintained his crucial role as the god who invented embalming and continued to oversee the preservation of bodies for their journey into the afterlife.
Was Anubis in Supernatural or Sabrina?
Sabrina, I do believe. Maybe both.
I can picture
I've got a
the
little
character.
I've got a little figure, a little picture.
No, like I know what he looks like,
Oh.
but like in whatever show I'm thinking of.
Girl, I don't know.
It's not in Supernatural. I think it's in Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. No? I don't know. I can picture this character. Maybe it'll come up and whatever I'm thinking of will come up in your things. Continue. Oh, let me do the second one in this list.
Okay, well I'll go next. Remus Lupin makes his introduction into the Harry Potter universe in the third book / film on the Hogwarts Express. He was a childhood friend of Harry's father, whom James, Sirius, and Peter all became illegal like 10 minutes, and then I realized it wasn't recording. So, let me see. Yeah, so all of Remus Lupin's childhood friends became illegal animagus, or shapeshifters, to keep him company in the Shrieking Shack when he would go there to transform during the full moon.
Oh, my turn.
Yep.
So the next one, Klaus is a hybrid werewolf vampire, Klaus Michelson, from the CW series The Vampire Diaries, and it's spin off the originals. He is described as a captivating character whose complexity and charisma have made him a fan favorite. His unique status as a hybrid sets him apart from other werewolves, granting him extraordinary powers such as accelerated healing, telepathy, and the ability to sire a powerful bloodline of werewolf-vampire hybrids. Defined by his ruthless ambition and undying love for his family, Klaus's character demonstrates that even the most powerful supernatural beings still long for acceptance and connection. And I said earlier, this is my comfort show.
Yeah.
The originals is, I've watched it like 5 million times, and him and another one that I'll talk about here in a minute are my top werewolf faves ever.
Yeah. The protagonist from An American Werewolf in London, David Kessler, goes through a transformation into a bloodthirsty beast that stands out for its dark comic tones and its visual effects. I remember seeing the scene of his transformation in his apartment to the tune of Creedence Clearwater Revival's Bad Moon Rising for the first time, and it is truly something to behold for a film that came out in the 80s. This film had groundbreaking practical effects that showcased the physical torment of becoming a werewolf, while also toying with the idea of losing one's humanity and attempting to maintain a sense of normalcy. The character's arc, along with his gruesome hallucinations and grim discoveries, demonstrates the psychological terror that is associated with becoming and transforming into a werewolf.
The original Wolfman was portrayed in the 1941 film The Wolfman by Lon Chaney Jr. The character of Larry Talbot has since become a widely recognized symbol of the werewolf archetype.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying it wrong. He was bitten by a werewolf while saving a friend, and Talbot's tortured transformation into a nocturnal monster has been a lasting influence on the lore of the werewolf. Despite his efforts to contain the beast within him, Talbot ultimately comes to represent a tragic figure that is incapable of escaping the cycle of violence and is forced to suffer the consequences of an ancient curse that he did not deserve.
The character of Oz has been a fan favorite among Buffy the Vampire Slayer enthusiasts for years. Daniel Oz Osborne starts off as a seemingly normal high school student who becomes embroiled in the world of the supernatural after discovering that he comes from a long line of werewolves. Oz added a layer of complexity and nuance to the show's depiction of of the supernatural as he grappled with the duality of his humanity and his monstrous instincts. Seth Green's portrayal of a lovable and relatable werewolf solidified him as one of the best werewolves in the genre.
Another character from the Vampire Diaries and originals, Haley Marshall is a fiercely loyal and determined werewolf who defies convention by embracing both her werewolf heritage and her vampire connections. As a werewolf turned hybrid, Haley possesses similar abilities to that of Klaus, and this makes her a formidable force in the supernatural world. She overcomes her tragic past, confronts prejudice, and ultimately comes to embrace her identity as a werewolf and mother.
Bella, where have you been, Loca? One of the key players in the Twilight Saga is Jacob Black, and his werewolf heritage adds a twist to the traditional lore. Jacob's Native American heritage, coupled with the concept of him being a protector as well as a potential predator, gives this werewolf character some unique attributes. He is passionately loyal and demonstrates that with the series protagonist Bella Swan, but his inner struggles as a werewolf leave him feeling torn between his duties and his desires. Jacob's transformation gives him more strength, accelerated healing, as well as a telepathic connection to his fellow pack members, which sets him apart from other fictional werewolf characters.
So I watched the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how to say his name.
Alcide Herveau.
That's what I thought. Alcide Herveau from the True Blood series, the Sookie Stackhouse books, is a charming character. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I was literally just talking about the show with my sister today. I love
Joe Manganiello. He is so attractive looking.
So, it was years since the show came out before I had watched it for the first time.
Oh, yeah. He still looks the same.
I recently, I would say within the past year or two, tried to rewatch this and made it about 5 minutes into the first episode and couldn't do it.
Really?
Because the acting is horrible.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's her accent that kills me.
Yes, because she is Canadian.
Now, could anybody else have played that better?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think she very much is Sookie Stackhouse.
Yes, but
yes. That was one of my qualms with that show was the accents.
Sookie. Oh my God. Anyway, on the show True Blood, he quickly became a fan favorite due to his dedication to his loved ones, his strong moral compass, as well as the undeniable magnetism that the character has. This werewolf character displays heightened senses, superhuman strength, and agility, and these abilities are only matched by his fierce loyalty and overall goodness. Alcide has to navigate the complex world of supernatural politics while facing prejudice against werewolves, as well as navigating his own identity, both as an individual and as part of the pack.
And then I made a little note here and said he is definitely one of my favorite fictional werewolves, but I think I like the book version better than the show. But he's not my favorite character in the Sookie Stackhouse universe.
Because it's Vampire Bill.
No. In the books, it's Bubba. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody listening. I'll tell you after the fact who Bubba is.
Okay.
But if you plan on reading the books, I'm not going to tell you who Bubba is. Because when I read it, my mouth hit the floor.
Okay.
It was kind of like, it was one of those things where it was like, the series was like building up to that reveal. And because Bubba's not in the show.
Yeah.
Bubba's not in the show. But Bubba is my favorite Sookie Stackhouse book character. Anyway, I sometimes forget that Eddie Munster from the cult classic TV show The Munsters is a werewolf because he totally gives vampire vibes.
He really does.
But nonetheless, Eddie Munster demonstrates some lighter and more comedic sides of werewolf mythology. Despite being of supernatural heritage, his mother is a vampire and his father is Frankenstein's monster. The character of Eddie is innocent and naive and reminds viewers that even monsters can have a heart of gold. As with all children, Eddie goes through the trials and tribulations of growing up, like being accepted among his peers and fitting in with mortals, all while trying to stay true to his heritage as a supernatural being. You know, something we all go through.
Right. One of the most fearsome and terrorizing characters in the Harry Potter universe is Fenrir Greyback, who demonstrates the sheer brutality and darker side of lycanthropy. I have such a hard time with that word.
Is it lycanthropy or lycanthropy?
I think it's 6 one, half a dozen the other.
Yeah. Tomato.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie to tell you, I don't think I remember this character in the movies.
He's not. He's much more mentioned in the books.
Okay. This fictional werewolf is a very loyal follower of he who shall not be named. And his dedication to spreading the werewolf curse and his love of terrorizing his victims is unmatched and make him quite a formidable antagonist of the series. He is also the werewolf that turned Remus Lupin when he was just 4 years old. He bit Lupin because his father, Lyle Lupin, insulted all werewolves. Fenrir attempted to kill the child, but Remus was saved by his father. Remus was left with lycanthropy, whatever.
The character of Quentin Collins in the Gothic-style soap opera Dark Shadows, which was a favorite of my papa's, introduced audiences to a haunting and tragic werewolf character with a story that has captivated audiences since the 1960s. Quentin was cursed by a magical portrait, which forces him to navigate his supernatural transformations while contending with his family dramas and dark secrets. He leads a tormented existence as a werewolf. He's quite handsome.
Yeah.
Coupled with his compassionate nature, which makes him a truly multi-dimensional and unforgettable character. Obviously, there are tons of other fictional werewolf characters to choose from, but these are some of the top ones. Please feel free to drop a comment on our socials telling us what your favorite fictional werewolf is. Which, while I was reading this, I realized I forgot one. Hold on, I better do it from my phone because the last time I clicked off of this,
also I've never watched Dark Shadows outside of the Johnny Depp version movie.
Where's my phone? Did I leave it out there? Oh, whatever. But Supernatural.
Oh,
what is it? I want to say Garth.
Yes.
Is it Garth?
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot him.
I love him.
I'm sorry, Garth. Him and
oh my God, was he?
Him and that one vampire that Dean was stuck in limbo with.
Hold on,
what was his
gonna
name?
bug me.
They're getting married. They're together. As soon as you say it, I'll be like, I can't believe I forgot that. I can see his face.
Ty Olsson.
Yeah, but what's his character's name?
Oh.
Who did he play on Supernatural? I want to say it starts with a B, but I cannot for the life of me remember.
Here we go. Eli.
Eli.
That's what it says.
You a lie. That ain't right. Because he played a vampire.
He played Eli in season 2, Benny.
Oh, Benny, yeah. See, I told you.
Who has portrayed 2 vampires on Supernatural. He was Eli in season 2 and Benny Lafitte in season 8 and 10.
Yeah.
They're so cute together.
All right. Hit us with some vampire lore.
Are you not going to do the last one?
There's a last one?
Or the last bit there? Or am I going to hit us with vampires, then you're going to come back to that?
I'll come back to this.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. So, vampires. The vampire myth is ancient, and the vampire myth is an ancient one that finds itself weaving through several cultures. The earliest known accounts of blood-drinking entities appear in Sumerian texts, where demons like Ikimu rose from the grave to prey on the living. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Sekhmet was sometimes associated with bloodlust, which also points to later vampire lore. By Middle Ages, stories of vamps began to take shape, especially in Slavic folklore. These legends portrayed vampires as bloated corpses with an insatiable thirst for blood. Specific characteristics, like pronounced canines or a red complexion, were believed to be a telltale sign that someone was a vampire. The Slavic vampire, often referred to, also known as vampire, was a source of fear and superstition, leading to rituals aimed at keeping the dead from returning to life. The term vampire first appeared in English in the early 18th century, influenced by the tales making their way through Eastern Europe. Accounts of real-life individuals, like Countess Elizabeth Bathory, who was rumored to bathe in the blood of virgins, further added to these myths. When the stories of vampiric activity reached the West, they had taken on a life of their own, mixing with the local folklore and fears. The stories of vampires took on a whole new life significantly during the 18th and 19th centuries, largely through literature. In 1819, John Polidori published The Vampire, which introduced the idea of the suave, aristocratic vampire. This marked a shift from the grotesque and supernatural to a more romanticized view of vampirism. The most significant work in vampire literature is undoubtedly Bram Stoker's Dracula, published in 1897. Stoker's Count Dracula is the quintessential vampire, sophisticated, charming, and utterly terrifying. The novel explores Victorian anxieties about sexuality, immigration, and the clash of modernity and ancient superstitions. Dracula's character embodies both seduction and menace, and his pursuit of young women reflects societal fears about female sexuality and empowerment. The book's blend of horror and romance set the template for the countless vampire stories that followed. And then I have some notable literary vampires, like Lestat de Liancourt from Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. I'm not familiar with him from the books. I'm familiar with him from Interview with Vampire.
Yeah.
I just recently watched the 2 seasons that are out on, I think it's like AMC or whatever. Fantastic. Honest to goodness, TJ's not usually into like supernatural type stuff, and he watched both of those seasons with me, and I think he enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But Lestat is honestly like he's a complex character because he really he struggles with his identity and morality and his desire for connection, but he goes about it in terrible ways.
Yeah.
And then also Carmilla in Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu's 1872 novella. This female vampire predates Dracula and explores themes of lesbian desire and female empowerment. As we entered the 20th century, vampires transitioned to the silver screen, capturing the imaginations of new audiences. So, like classic cinema vampires would be Bela Lugosi's portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1931 film. He established the standard for cinematic vampires. His dramatic accent and hypnotic gaze created an enduring image of the vampire as both a predator and a tragic figure. This portrayal set the tone for the future adaptations. In In the 1950s and 60s, Hammer horror films brought vampires back to the forefront with a mix of gothic atmosphere and sensuality. Christopher Lee's performance as Dracula in Horror of Dracula in 1958 became iconic, showcasing a more physical and violent interpretation of the vampire. The late 20th and early 21st century saw a resurgence in vampire narratives. Films like The Lost Boys in 1987, which I recently just watched for the first time, like in the past year or two, and I'm kind of obsessed.
It's pretty good.
Blended horror with teenage themes, while Interview with the Vampire in 1994, which I have yet to see, offered a more emotional and philosophical take on vampirism, focusing on the internal struggles of its characters.
I just bought that movie at the thrift store.
I've never seen it, and I want to.
I've seen it, but it's been so long I don't remember it. It wasn't memorable like Queen of the Damned was.
I wonder how its connection with the series is. Like, I wonder how much they interlock.
I don't know.
Anyway, some famous movie vampires are Count Dracula, portrayed by various actors. Edward Cullen from Twilight. He represents a new generation of brooding, romantic vampires, sparking discussions about love and immortality. I roll my eyes the entire time I'm sitting here saying that, but like, we'll never pass up the chance to watch those movies. They are so stupid, and I love to hate them, but I will watch them every time. I don't know why. I like legit have been having the itch here lately to rewatch all of them.
I was never really a Twilight girly.
I never was too, and I made fun of it so much.
Yeah, I always made fun of Edward glistening.
Yeah, I will never pass up the chance to sit there. Like, if I'm flipping through TV and it's just me in the living room, I'm gonna watch them.
Yeah.
Now, if TJ's in there, we ain't watching it. He ain't gonna watch it. But, and then also Spike and Angel, characters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah, brother.
Explore the duality of vampirism, struggling between monstrous urges and the desire for humanity. I also wanted to include Vampire Diaries. There's several.
Yeah.
My favorite would be Damon, played by Ian Somerhalder. Because nobody really likes Stefan. And then we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched that.
I loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I
like the movie from the 80s too.
V-Wars, which also featured Somerhalder. I've never watched it. I watched like the first couple episodes. And it seemed pretty good, but for some reason I didn't finish it.
You just didn't click with it.
Then there were, of course, vampires and Supernatural.
Right.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I never watched the original.
I saw bits and pieces, like when my papa would watch it, but I've never like sat down and watched it.
Now, 10 out of 10, I loved the Johnny Depp movie.
It was alright.
I went to theaters to see it.
I did not.
And then the Munsters.
Love the Munsters.
I don't know. I sat and watched a couple episodes here and there, but it was never anything that I just like had to sit down and see.
I've seen every episode of the Munsters. I've seen every episode of the Addams Family. I was a creepy child, I think.
I was very sheltered and wasn't allowed to watch a whole lot like that. I'm honestly shocked.
It was highly encouraged in my household.
I'm very shocked that I got to watch Charmed as much as I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fascination with vampires endures for several reasons. They embody our fears, desires, and the darker sides of human nature. Themes of immortality, forbidden love, and the struggle between good and evil resonate deeply with the audiences. Vampires often reflect social anxieties. For instance, Twilight captured the early 2000s fears and desires surrounding romance, sexuality, and identity, while True Blood tackled issues of social justice, prejudice, and the struggle for acceptance in modern context.
Yeah.
The flexibility.
I never really thought of it that way, but yeah.
Yeah. The flexibility of the vampire myth allows it to evolve with cultural changes. Today's vampires can be tragic heroes, romantic leads, or dark anti-heroes, appealing to a wide range of audiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how they will take these supernatural beings or something like that one would generally fear and kind of tie it into what's relevant today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like it.
You didn't mention my favorite vampire
Oh,
character.
excuse me, please.
But
Please
you
do tell.
wouldn't have known to mention my favorite vampire character because it's only in a book. It's not from TV or anything like that. But
is it those books that I have?
yeah, Betsy the Vampire Queen. The Mary Janice Davidson books.
Oh, I don't think that's the one.
Oh, maybe not then. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah,
World.
Mary Janice Davidson, what is it? Undead and Unwed is the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're on the top shelf.
I was thinking...
Sookie Stackhouse is on the second shelf.
No, what was I thinking? It was like... Undead and Unemployed was what I was thinking.
Okay, that's just the second book in the series, I think.
So yeah, I did... I knew, I got you. That was one of them that I bought.
But yeah, Betsy the Vampire Queen, written, or the Undead series by Mary Janice Davidson, highly recommend. If you're a reader, the audiobooks, like if you have Audible, they're on Audible. I think there's only one book that's not available on Audible. I could be wrong. I don't know. There is only one book that's not available. But they're pretty good. Anyway, is that all you've got?
Yep.
Ghouls. It seems that the tale of ghouls have been circulated long before the 7th century in the Middle East. Arabic scholars of the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries compiled various Bedouin folk tales that involved ghouls, many of which were found in the collection of The 1001 Nights. When translations of this book traveled to Europe in the 18th century, along with the notion of ghouls, in the original Arabic text, the ghouls of The 1001 Nights were vile tricksters and ravenous flesh eaters who kidnapped their victims. They would also lure lustful men to their doom by disguising themselves as beautiful women, sometimes sneaking into storerooms to chow down on their date. Ghouls have often been associated with scavenging hyenas, but the Arabic text did not describe them as being grave robbers who dined on the dead. This detail seems not to have come about until, according to scholars, the early 18th century, with Antoine Galland's French translation of The 1001 Nights, when that was published. Galland not only took some liberties with his translation, but he also introduced the female character of Amina, who prefers the company of graveyard ghouls over the company of her new husband. This inaccurate translation was unfortunately hugely influential in its understanding of the Middle East, which inspired the work of William Beckford, the 18th century author of the Arabian-themed novel Vathek. In Tamil mythology of India, there is what is known as a Pei, which is a shaggy-haired creature that seeks out human battles in order to lap up the blood from the open wounds of the dying. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead from the 8th century, there are details on the Buddhist journey through death. In a dreamlike state known as Bardo, the departed souls encounter the Pishachi ghouls, which are fierce female beings with bestial heads and an appetite for bones and viscera. Isn't it crazy? I can say a word like viscera, and there are just some words that I just cannot pronounce. I cannot wrap my head around how those letters are lined up to make that word.
God forbid we give you a French name.
Oh Lord, I'm so bad with the French. As far as the appearance of ghouls, there are similarities in the descriptions in both Arabic and European texts. In some of the early Arabic myths, ghouls are described as being quite hairy, and it is possible that this is due to them having canine-like features, but they do hold the power to shapeshift, and, as I mentioned before, are known for transforming into beautiful women who lead men to secluded areas to devour them. Ghouls can also transform into other animals. However, a popular choice has been the hyena. They would use this form to lure a person into the desert, and when they were far enough away from civilization, the remainder of the pack would appear to pounce and devour the victim quickly. The more modern European descriptions of ghouls have maintained their canine features. However, they do not have such a hairy exterior, but are instead pale with rubbery skin. They are reported to be sensitive to light, though not quite as much as vampires are. These modern ghouls are also capable of shape-shifting, but in more recent literature, they have the ability to shape-shift into the last person they devoured, regardless if the victim was alive or not. It has also been suggested that these modern ghouls can access the memories of the victim by ingesting their brain, which would effectively allow them to blend into society without being discovered. And there's just a few, there's like 4. Fictional ghouls. So in the 1848 poem The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe, there is a mention of ghouls in the 4th section. They and their king are described as the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, where they would toll the bells and glorify the depressive effect on those that heard them. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls. His poem from 1847, Ulalume, also contains ghouls. And in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, both the film and the book, the ghouls are described as loyal soldiers of the White Witch. And in the Harry Potter series, ghouls are overall harmless creatures who reside in the homes of wizards and make loud noises, throwing in the occasional groan. In the series, the Weasleys have a ghoul residing in their attic, and it is seen as the family pet. And then in season 4 of Supernatural, episode 19, entitled Jump the Shark, Sam and Dean come across 2 ghouls. And this is also the episode where they find out that they have a half-brother named Adam. Because at first I was reading it and I was like, I don't recognize them. But it's the same episode as finding the fandom likes to pretend Adam didn't exist. But it's that
I'm having
episode.
to look at it because I don't remember that myself.
See? He's easily forgettable. I vaguely remember
I don't remember
the ghoul situation.
I don't even remember
but
that.
I thought it was a totally different episode.
What's your favorite Supernatural episode?
What's my favorite Supernatural? Oh. The one where Castiel shows up. That's a pretty good one. Or the one where Amara shows up.
You know what my favorite episode is?
What? Oh, is it? Yeah. That's a pretty good one.
That was scary.
That's my favorite episode for that specific part. That's my text message ringtone. Just him saying, that was scary.
Well.
So, one thing I didn't touch on in the vampire section, I realized it as you're reading your ghouls part.
Yeah.
Like, today's real life vampires.
Yeah.
So, like, what is your take on these quote unquote mythological beings?
I mean, I think...
Like, do you think werewolves are a thing?
Maybe. I don't know, in the sense that we have them in, like
turning into a wolf, like a legit dog.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they exist in the sense that, like, we think of in the fictional sense, like what we've elaborated on. But like these ideas had to come from somewhere, and they've been around for a long time.
Like, do I think that maybe potentially it might have stemmed from like a group of people that maybe come full moon time would get pissy easier,
and maybe had extra hair? Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But like I said, these ideas had to come from somewhere.
Right.
And especially for them to have become so ingrained in the modern mind.
Right. I just like the different depictions throughout time on how things change.
Right.
How they evolve.
And I mean, it could just be that like some dude wrote about, like created, I mean, it's still like anything happens, you know.
Right.
Some dude created this character. And then, you know, somebody was inspired by that, and then somebody was inspired by that.
Right.
And, you know, and then it just, you know, it grows and grows and grows.
Right.
And then, you know, now we're talking about werewolves, and we have TV shows about werewolves, and, you know, and there's all sorts of iterations of werewolves and vampires and, you know, all of it. 'Cause it's like, you know, with like the True Blood series, like they found a way to sustain themselves without needing people.
Right.
And like that's not something that's common.
Right.
So like that's a variation on a common myth.
So here's my standpoint on the whole vampire situation. Do I think that there are beings that are, you know, roaming the streets at night that are sucking the blood?
No. Do I think energy vampires are a thing? 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
That's what I was going to say.
Whether or not they realize it, but 100%.
I mean, have you ever been around a person that's like,
just draining?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know somebody 100% who she is the nicest human being. She is so sweet, but being around her is so draining.
And it's not because they're just, I don't know.
And it's not necessarily, like I said, like, I don't think that all energy vampires are aware that they're energy vampires.
Right.
But yeah, like this woman, I get an email from her.
I know who it is now.
And I'm exhausted.
I know who it is now. I know who you're talking about.
It's not something that I think she is at all aware of. I don't know how that she, you know, I don't think she knows that it's exhausting to interact with her. And this may just be, I mean, I don't know if Daniel experiences the same thing that I do when I interact with her, but, you know, we both just don't particularly. And because it's like I said the other day, was like, it's not like me to just out and out not like someone.
Right.
I was like, you know, in this, she's not given me a reason to just not like her. But there's just something about her that I just don't like. And I think that's fine. Am I going to be mean to her? No. Am I sometimes? Yes. Do I apologize every time? And it's not that I'm mean to her. I get snippy because I just I get irritated.
Right.
Because it's such a draining experience.
Right. I'm super excited to because when you think vampires, you think of New Orleans.
Right.
And I'm excited to experience, if I can.
That's where the Interview with the Vampire series takes place is in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. That's where the Originals is based out of. Am I excited to, I don't want to come in contact with one of these people.
Right.
I'm sure that I will. But, I'm trying to enjoy my time and not be drained.
Right.
But, I'm anxious to see if I can feel it out.
Yeah.
If I can see if I can pinpoint somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm so anxious just to go. I can't wait to get out of that airport and just take it all in.
Yeah.
Where we're staying is in downtown French Quarter.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Even for the short amount of time, like you can't bring me down.
I will say I have heard to be prepared for the smell.
Oh, I know. Oh,
I've heard
I know.
it stinks real bad.
I know. I've been there once before.
Yeah.
But like I'm so stoked. I've told TJ, I said, you don't make eye contact with anybody. Not one single solitary person. Not just for your physical safety, but because there are different cultures. It's a very culturally rich area.
Yeah.
And you don't know who you're looking at.
Exactly.
And you could be seeing that could be what?
I think a spider just fell off me.
Oh, that's good. I didn't see one on you.
Well, it just fell like out of my hair
Oh, that's good.
and into the trash can.
Nice.
That was lucky.
But I told him, I was like, you know, who it is that you're looking at could be a high ranking person in their society.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of disrespect that you're making eye contact with them. I'm like, just don't do it. We gonna go in some of the shops. We're going in October, man. We gotta do something spooky.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're going in some of the shops. Girl, why are you scratching like that? You have fleas over there?
No,
It's Amara.
She's just scratching.
Bless her.
Poor baby. She don't feel good. She got an ear infection.
But I'm so excited. Can't tell me nothing. Which, when this releases, I won't have yet gone. I'll be going that way very soon.
Gotcha. Well, I did not pick a nonprofit for this week. I was lazy, and I don't have my phone with me, so you're not getting one this week.
Maybe you can find one and just post it with our stuff.
Yeah, I'll find one and post it with our stuff. I'll make a Facebook post. I'll find one. I'll make up for it. And I'll make sure that it's in the description of this episode, which I will have to splice together. I forgot about that. I was like, man, this episode is short. I forgot that like the first 20 minutes I don't even think it was that long. I don't know. Anyway, follow us
On the Facebook,
Instagram,
TikTok.
I'm not even going to say it because I think I'm going to
Do the other
deactivate it.
Do the other one.
X.
No, do the other one.
Oh, YouTube.
And then email us at wanderersofweird
At gmail.com.
I didn't do that on the last episode. I was trying to hurry up and go. I had to pee too bad.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.